You can't seriously believe it's gonna be that easy, Nylea, I replied as I stared up at the steel sphere. That I'm just gonna let you wander off to your possible death? No way. There has to be a solution to this problem. Well, unless you can find another host with King's blood, I don't believe that you have a choice, Keven, Nylea replied. But I am, of course, open to suggestions. That is, if you have any. Anyone? Nylea's voice uttered from the steel orb, as the room was silent. Yes, I didn't think so. Besides, right now there are more important things to worry about. You especially have much more important things to concern yourself with, Keven. You have a war to fight. I can't afford to have you wasting all of your time trying to find me a host, especially considering that King's blood is an especially rare thing. And not only is it rare, but you have no way to search for it without introducing me to the individual that you wish to test. You don't exactly have equipment or the knowledge necessary to scan someone for the King's blood. So I'm afraid we're a bit lackluster for options as far as that category goes. Right now, what you need to be thinking about is Becky and her Black Dog Syndicate. Becky? Who's Becky? Oh, Rikish hasn't told you, Nylea's orb emitted, as suddenly, Vicky's voice looked as if she had a thought that was holding consistently. Oh, okay. I got you, she said as she looked over to me. Yeah, Rikish just explained it. He never told me that the head honcho was somebody by the name of Becky. He told me about the situation in general, but not that specific detail. But can she really erase herself from people's perceptions? That's crazy. How do we even fight someone when they can prevent themselves from being perceived in any way? It's sort of a ripoff. How are you supposed to catch someone like that? With hard work and effort, I guess. And a little bit of ingenuity never hurt anyone, I said as I tried to straighten myself up in my seat, shaking off the effects. Well, I'm not giving up on this, Nylea. If you think you've heard the last of the "I'm gonna save you" statements from me, you're sadly mistaken. But for the time being, I suppose, we do have more pressing concerns. For one, outfitting Vicky. And next, the army that the Black Dog Syndicate is raising. In fact, Vicky's appearance only pushes into the question of what happened to all the other escapees. I mean, how many were there, Nylea? Well, quite frankly, there must have been at least a dozen that got out before the ship was sealed up tight. That means there are nearly a dozen individuals out there who are still loyal to me. I'm unsure of their hosts, but the chances are that they have chosen good people, just like myself and Rikish, people with kind hearts. So, if nothing else, we can assume that they will not be antagonistic. They will not attempt to hinder our goals. I cannot guarantee that they will be fighters. However, I do know that they will not pose themselves as enemies, at least under their own will. And we can only hope that their will remain their own. But quite frankly, the most concerning factor is one that I haven't spoken to you of yet. Come on, Nylea. You can't keep harboring these deep, dark secrets. It's kind of important that I know the facts. I know, Keven, Nylea replied, as I tried to stand up from my seat, checking myself over to make sure that I felt fine. So, what's the next thing on the "it's terrible" bandwagon? Looking over to Nylea's sphere. I said, looking over to Nylea's sphere. Well, quite frankly, The biggest risk that we have is the possibility of symbiotes inhabiting bodies with king's blood, especially if they are king's candidates. What? I replied, feeling a bit taken back, not knowing what to make of the situation or what it meant. What do you mean, king's blood candidates? And why would having king's blood matter for a regular symbiote? Listen, Keven, the royal bloodline requires king's blood because of the unique and powerful abilities that we manifest. The stronger that a symbiote's abilities are, the more likely that their host must possess specific characteristics that are exceptionally hard to find. The more powerful the abilities, the more unique the individual must be. King's blood being the rarest factor, it is a very powerful thing, Keven. So much so that it even has a powerful effect on weaker symbiotes. Any symbiote subjected to a host possessing king's blood will most likely develop to be stronger than other symbiotes, yielding much more powerful results. It will only strengthen their powers, and that's only the minor risk. Then there are the 4 king's candidates. Okay, Nylea, I replied. So, what are the king's candidates? What's so special about them? Well, Keven, Nylea said, as I could sense a sort of apprehension in her voice, a feeling of concern. The king's candidates are named such because they are candidates for assuming the title of king, the ruling bloodline of the symbiotes. What? But I thought you were the royal bloodline, I replied, both frustrated and a bit confused. I am, Keven, as is my hatchling. We possess the title of the royal bloodline, as our ability is the strongest. This has been tested and proven through trial and combat. But the royal bloodline is not some constant factor. The ruler of our people is decided by the symbiote that possesses the most powerful ability. The most powerful ability is decided, as always, in combat. Put quite simply, among the countless symbiotes that exist, there are 4 of them that possess abilities that are so powerful that they, like me, require a host with king's blood in order to sustain themselves. On our homeworld, the king's blood candidates served as royal guards, given the specific task of protecting the royal bloodline, as well as being their primary competitors. Once every decade or so, a grand challenge is announced, in which symbiotes may compete in order to attain the title of the royal bloodline. My bloodline has held this status for countless generations. No matter the competitors, our bloodline has reigned for thousands of years. But this does not mean that the king's blood candidates are weak by any measure. They are exceptionally powerful, more so than most other symbiotes and their hosts, the most dangerous of which is the Voskal bloodline. The Voskal bloodline? Who are they? They are the most powerful of the king's candidates. If they find a host, if someone is presented to our people who possesses king's blood, it is most likely that they will be the first to be given the option to select them as a host for their hatchling. This would be exceptionally bad. The Voskal bloodline is extraordinarily powerful, using a combination of abilities that makes their destructive power, well, unbelievable. The power of the king's blood, and specifically the current royal bloodline, is its versatility, its ability to adapt to nearly any circumstance, and to continue to build only becoming more powerful as time goes by. But the Voskal bloodline does not need time. After the abilities manifest within the Voskal bloodline, they are already at the pinnacle of their power. All they need do is learn how to wield it. This is why there is a time gap between the challenges for who can become the ruling bloodline, because not all powers stand equal in all categories. In terms of time, my bloodline is exceptionally slow. Our powers must build. We must accumulate large amounts of the liquid steel in order to further our abilities. But the Voskal bloodline has no such limitation. Their power is at maximum from the beginning, and their destructive power, well, quite frankly, is unreasonable. They have cultivated a collection of unique abilities, which makes them, well, next to unstoppable. Their opponents rarely survive long enough to truly consider it a fight. Their destructive abilities are so great that even the power that my bloodline has pales in comparison to its outright destructive capability. We are able to defeat them by using versatility, but that is only given enough time. If the Voskal bloodline finds its way to a host, then our situation is going to become extremely dangerous.